Well, good Monday morning to you. I trust that yesterday's services were potent and powerful, whether you were preaching or serving in some capacity or simply in attendance. Awesome day at my church yesterday. Just sensing the power of God in so many ways. In these very dangerous times, these frightening times, it's nice to go into a fellowship of believers that is on fire for the Lord and getting more expectant. Anyway, so I trust that you are enjoying worship as much as I have been in recent days. One of the questions I get asked all the time from my students and from coaching students, coaching clients, and even longtime pastors who sort of kind of get in a rut of doing things the same old way. The question, of course, is where do you find meaningful and relevant sermon illustrations? And the answer to that question is everywhere. Just look around. I remember years ago I read a book by a youth speaker by the name of Ken Davis, and his title of his book was How to Speak to Youth, I believe. And I read it years ago. But the best chapter in that book for me was where to get illustrations, and he talked about just looking around instead of going to books and trying to find them in books and on websites and in history. And there's a place for all of that. Don't think I'm knocking it. But the most relevant and fresh illustrations come from the world around you that you live in the here and now. And I would encourage you to practice what I call optic observation. In other words, conditioning yourself to that when you leave the house in the morning, or even when you're at the house, but especially when you leave the house, condition yourself to be sort of looking around. You will see people interact with one another. You will see acts of nature. You will see things if you intend to be more looking around at what's going on around you. When you're at a business establishment, a retail shop, a restaurant, just look. And you will see things that, if you're really focused on them, you can apply to people's lives, and you can relate to a passage of Scripture that you're going to be preaching on. I get probably 90% of my illustrations simply by looking around. When I go out, I have the intent. I'm always in sermon planning mode. I've said that before. I save my life for God, not just the time when I sit down to preach in my study, but the entire week is made up of sermon preparation, just mentally, spiritually, and I'm looking around and I'm taking note of things. And when I note something that's particularly interesting, I prayed about it and said, God, just show me some things that I'll experience or see this week that I can relate to and use it in my message. Then I'll just, as soon as I see it, I'll take my phone, and turn the voice recorder on and record it. That way I won't forget it. Anyway, so let me just encourage you with that thought. Where do you find illustrations? Everywhere. But you've got to condition yourself to be not so focused on what you're doing. I'm going here and I'm going to do this. Look around, relax, and enjoy the ride and be aware of things that are going on around you. You'll be pretty surprised at how often you will see things that you probably wouldn't ordinarily see that you can use to enhance the relevance of your message. Just fodder to consider today. God bless.